Martin, tonight residents of a temporary shelter in Toronto speak out.
People's mental and physical health is deteriorating at an alarming rate, and they're not doing anything about it.
The concerning conditions residents say must change.
I was trying to submit my assignment, and at the same time I was shaking. I was having anxiety. I didn't know what to do.
The challenges international students face in Ontario as war rages on back home in Ukraine. Some schools are offering support. Life and energy returning to the city in the form of art. We'll take you to an exhibit that kicks off this weekend.
This is CBC Saturday News.
Hello, thanks for joining us. Residents at a temporary shelter set up during the pandemic are going public about what they call troubling living conditions. There's concerns about food, safety, and lack of support. Talia Ricci brings us more from the residents, plus has reaction from the city.
Some of the people who call this temporary shelter home say things need to change.
A lot of the residents are being treated very badly. People's mental and physical health is deteriorating at an alarming rate, and they're not doing anything.
Throughout the pandemic, the Bond Place Hotel has been leased by the city, serving as one of the temporary shelters that were established as part of its COVID-19 response. Recently, residents living there with the help of the Encampment Support Network started a Twitter account to share some of their experiences.
You know, I'm not getting my proper special diet. See, I got no teeth in that. Like if I have a medical emergency, I've been trying to get my room phone fixed for over 5 months.
And this is what's going on in here. There's people being robbed, beaten. I sleep with a metal pole in my door because I'm so scared.
Food, safety, and a lack of support are among some of their biggest concerns. Their goal was to draw attention to their issues on social media.
There was some misinformation there that we would like to clear up.
David Raycraft, Director of Housing Services at Dixon Hall, disputes some of these claims, but says the plan is to meet with residents and hear their concerns.
There are certainly challenges there. No one would ever have made a decision to move 250 people who are experiencing complex needs into one building. I do think that, we can work with that group and make sure that their questions are answered and make sure that they're directed into the right places. So we have housed 100 individuals since the bond opened in April 2020. So we'll continue to work with them.
The city says the location has 5 dedicated staff working on site to provide case management and housing support services. Adding most of its 27 temporary shelter sites, including the Bond Hotel location, would be extended. Residents say they hope the upcoming meeting results in change.
They could be doing so much better.
Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
It's now been almost a week since Ontario dropped its mask mandate, but some organizations are choosing to stick with masks for now, including the Ontario Hockey Federation. Lorenda Redekop has more.
This is where your Adidas comes down the wall.
These young players don't have to wear a mask on the bench, but their coaches do. It's part of the mask mandate in place until the end of the season.
The most important thing is if I need to wear a mask so kids can play hockey, I'll wear a mask so kids can play hockey.
Due to COVID rules, kids haven't had much ice time over the past 2 years. This coach says skill levels suffered.
It was hard. It really was. Yeah. So I feel bad for the kids. I really do. I'm even getting emotional on camera, but it's true. Just watching the children and watching the depletion, it was not good.
The league says the mandate is about allowing kids to finish their season and putting safety first.
These kids don't have to wear their masks out here or once they're out on the ice, but they are supposed to in the dressing room. That's more than they have to do in most Ontario schools.
This high school teacher is outspoken on Twitter and says despite the looser rules, most students and teachers are keeping their masks on.
Keeping the mask mandate until the end of the school year is probably the safest thing that we could have chosen to do, but even just a few more weeks after the March break.
Wastewater monitoring suggests COVID cases are up. Some doctors are seeing it.
We've seen a steady drumbeat of new cases that are popping up in our patients, and it seems to be accelerating.
Back at the hockey rink, some parents who wouldn't go on camera don't like the mandate. Others are fine with keeping dressing rooms a mask-on zone.
If you've been to any of the dressing rooms, they can be quite cramped. So in that case, I think it's fair.
I'm glad the kids don't have to wear it on the ice while they're playing. Most important thing is they're playing hockey. Number one most important thing, they're out of the house, fresh air, they're playing.
The current hockey season will be over in a matter of weeks. The league has already said that for next season, it'll follow the provincial guidance. Lorenda Radicomp, CBC News, Toronto.
To the latest in Ukraine now, where a city that had been a relative refuge for hundreds of thousands was hit by blasts. That comes as, for the first time, top Ukrainian officials met with the U.S. president face-to-face. Salima Shivji has our story.
The strikes hit suddenly, a series of explosions rocking the western city of Lviv, and then dark smoke billowed into the sky. The mayor of the city confirming Lviv was struck, a fuel storage facility on fire, basically shattering the relative quiet and security of the western city of Lviv, close to the Polish border. It also came just a day after Russia's defense ministry said that they were moving on to the next phase of the war, that the first phase was mostly complete, and that their focus would be shifting, the Kremlin's focus shifting to the eastern part of Ukraine. The strikes also come just as U.S. President Joe Biden is here in neighboring Poland, just across the border. He's in the capital, Warsaw, where he met with Ukrainian top officials for the first time face-to-face. Ukraine's foreign minister actually emerged from that meeting reassured.
No other country provided Ukraine with more support than the United States. And this is crucial. It's Ukrainian stamina and Western weapons, mostly American weapons, is the recipe for success on the battleground.
There was also a hint of more sanctions to come, just as inside Ukraine, Ukrainian forces are on the counteroffensive in some parts surrounding the capital, Kyiv, pushing back Russian troops. But that leads to a warning from some in the West. Defense briefings from the United Kingdom saying that stalled tanks on the ground could lead to heavy firepower targeting cities. And where Russia is hitting already, it's hitting hard. In the besieged city of Mariupol in the south, the desperation and the destruction really laid bare. Buildings, charred shells of what they formerly were, buses left in the street, people sheltering in their basements for days upon days, and many residents saying they're so scared they do not know what to do. People are dying day after day as there's a lack of food, a lack of resources, no power as well. As many residents still trapped in Mariupol are wondering each day whether a stable humanitarian corridor will be set up and whether they'll be able to get out safely. Salima Shivji, CBC News in eastern Poland.
Meantime, international students here are continuing to find ways to help, but as Natalie Collada shows us, they're also struggling with things like tuition and housing costs as their families back home face so much uncertainty.
It was with high hopes and big dreams that Oleksandra Shalutko and Anastasia Nestenko enrolled at Humber College. The college has the largest Ukrainian student population in a college in Ontario. Less than a year later, their education is now threatened by the realities of war back home.
I was trying to submit my assignment, and at the same time I was shaking, I was having anxiety, and I was calling my family, I was calling my friends to wake up, and then my mother, she told me that she heard some sounds, and then she knew that they need to go to the basement.
The war in Ukraine has now entered its second month. Residential areas have been hit, forcing millions to flee for their lives, leaving international students here to worry for their families back home, and also how to now pay their $20,000 tuition in Canada.
My mother should provide my two little brothers, 7 and 12 years old, also with food, also she has living expenses in Poland, and she doesn't work there obviously because she's fleeing from war.
Humber College's Student Association raised funds to help Ukrainian students with the cost of rent, food, and transit. The school says it's providing mental health supports, and has waived outstanding balances for the winter term while it works on a financial support package.
And our key focus is, can we help our students ensure that they graduate and they continue their studies without disruption?
But for Shaludko, it may be too late. She has a part-time job, but it's not enough.
We are basically run out of money and our families cannot finance us.
Leaving her to wonder what their options are.
I might be not able to finish my study here, and it's not an option for me.
Natalie Collada, CBC News, Toronto.
The Ontario Liberals hosting their first in-person gathering of candidates and volunteers since 2020. Stephen Del Duca unveiling the first part of the party's platform ahead of the election this June.
Economic dignity in Ontario is in short supply. There is no meaningful path to retirement or real protection for workers in the gig economy. And the simple fact of the matter is that while our economy has changed dramatically, our social safety net has not kept up.
The Ontario Liberal leader announced a number of campaign promises, including increasing the minimum wage to $16 an hour, more protections for gig workers, and 10 paid sick days for all workers. The Liberal leader also saying if elected, his party will create a package of benefits accessible to everyone. A new affordable housing project is now underway in Parkdale. It's part of a partnership between the city and the federal government.
Homes will prioritize affordable housing for people who are experiencing or at risk of experiencing homelessness, and those who are living in temporary shelters, and those who are in severe and core housing need.
The goal is to build more than 1,000 affordable homes in Toronto within a year. The announcement happened on Friday. Parkdale will see 51 new modular homes.
Roughly 1% of our population who are affected by this condition. For many with epilepsy, a lot of the burden revolves around the unpredictability of epilepsy itself.
Today is World Epilepsy Day, also known as Purple Day. It's all about boosting awareness and supporting those who live with epilepsy. The Toronto sign and CN Tower will shine bright purple to mark the occasion. So it's Purple Day. It's also Earth Hour tonight. Sophia is here with our first look at the forecast, and you have some more details on that for us.
Yeah, you can join millions around the world. Take action, raise awareness. It's 8:30 to 9:30 p.m. local time, so you can get out the candles, turn off the lights for that hour, get out the board games, and check out the dimly lit skyline, along with some of the snow that will probably be falling around the same time. Yeah, the rain showers that we had earlier in the day will turn over to snow into the overnight period. We still have these snow squalls locked in north and west of the city, as we've been seeing for much of the day and as we will continue to see for much of the weekend. Reminder, this is the first full weekend of spring. Looks a lot more like winter out there. Travel advisories out for many of the major roadways with whiteout conditions and really blustery drives, along with sizable snow into Monday morning to the tune of about 20 centimeters for places like Goderich and Kincardine. We'll see a trace to about 5 centimeters throughout the weekend in the GTA. It just whets the appetite for the cold that's coming in to end off the weekend and start off the work week Sunday morning. Feeling like the mid-minus teens right across the board. Doesn't get much warmer with a really raw northwest wind Sunday afternoon. So if you're headed out to the big game at BMO Field, you want to dress in layers. And if you were hopeful and put away the parka, it's, well, time to bring it back out.
Oh my gosh, already.
What a ride. More good news to come in the long range.
Okay, good to hear that. We'll see you shortly.
Okay.
Well, as Sophia mentioned, in less than 24 hours, the Canada men's national team will get another shot at securing a spot at this year's World Cup. The team is back on home soil training at BMO Field, where the big match against Jamaica goes tomorrow. That's where we find our Dale Manukduk. Dale, tell us, how is everyone feeling there tonight?
Well, Shannon, obviously not the result anyone hoped for Thursday night in Costa Rica, with a chance to punch their ticket to Qatar. The men's team, previously unbeaten, lost their first match in qualifying, falling 1-0 to Costa Rica. Now, the energy is really high now. After the loss, Coach John Herbin said it's in the sky. There is no excuses. It's in our hands. Destiny is in our hands to go home and qualify at home. Now, there has been some really disgusting fallout after the match. Mark Anthony Kay, the 27-year-old from Toronto, he left the match in the 34th minute after picking up his second yellow card, and he has been subjected to some online racial abuse. Canada Soccer has issued a statement tweeting that they condemn all forms of discrimination and are appalled by the online attacks aimed at Mark Anthony Kay. Now, I spoke with Brendan Dunlop, host of Footy Prime, the podcast, and also who's hosting Canada Soccer Legends, a show on Monday night on CBC Gem and CBC Sports YouTube channel about the abuse.
For a lot of Canadians, they'll be sad and surprised to see that this happens to Canadian athletes. The reality is that this is a reality for Black athletes everywhere. And it's definitely something that's not foreign to soccer. In fact, we've seen a lot more of it in the last 5 years, which is very alarming and concerning. But I see the reaction from his teammates, as I say, immediately as he was sent off, coming around and supporting him, letting him know before he got into the change room through the tunnel there that they were fighting for him. They were one united front.
Mark Anthony Kay's teammates have come out in support of him, along with Canada Soccer. There is no place in society, and certainly no place in soccer, for racism.
Yeah, absolutely, Dale. So looking ahead then to tomorrow's match, what kind of a threat does Jamaica pose?
Well, Jamaica was supposed to be challenging for that 4th or 5th spot, really tried to give Canada a run for their money, but they haven't played out that way. They've had a really poor qualifying tournament. Canada is the overwhelming favorite, and Brendan Dunlop thinks that they're going to get it done on home soil.
Canada was awarded co-host for 2026. Everyone thought that would be the watershed moment. And John Herdman actually said when that happened, hey, we have another World Cup before them that we're focused on. And everyone kind of laughed. The prospect of Canada qualifying for 2022 in 2018 seemed so unthinkable. And now here they are. And this has been 30 years of build.
Now, the match does start at 4 p.m. tomorrow. The boys are training hard on the pitch right now, and we're going to have more coverage of the game, of the result, on tomorrow night's 11 o'clock broadcast. Shannon.
Okay, thanks, Dale. It's going to be super exciting. That's Dale Manukduk joining us now live from BMO Field in Toronto. Art goers enjoying some live music this morning as the Toronto Biennial of Art kicks off their exhibit. Today's launch was in Mississauga. This year's exhibit is called What Water Knows, The Land Remembers, and includes 9 pieces at venues right across the GTA.
Every venue has very distinct threads. So the Small Arms Building is thinking about migration, whether that's forced or at will. It's thinking about our relationship to our homelands. It's very distinctly thinking about how land itself shapes identity, it shapes language, it shapes art forms.
37 visual artists are featured. The show runs until June 5th. If you've ever thought of buying a lotto ticket, you may be tempted by this story. No winning ticket was sold for the 70 million Lotto Max jackpot in last night's draw. There were a couple of runner-up prize winners, including one in Ontario for nearly $600,000. Not too bad. The next Lotto Max draw goes Tuesday. The jackpot is still 70 million. Sophia is back and telling us to pull out the winter coat. That makes me a little sad. I'm not going to lie.
The lucky numbers here will be in the mid-minus teens over the next little while. We talked a little bit earlier, Shannon, about how the first weekend of spring will be decidedly more winter-like. We've got a multi-day lake effect snow event with some pretty hefty totals for the end of March, which is really going out like a lion, isn't it? And then we also have travel advisories as we speak out for a good chunk of southern Ontario. Travel is not advised in some of these areas highlighted where there are whiteout conditions and blustery winds. It's all, as we said, whetting the appetite for Monday when our familiar friend, the polar vortex, will be joining us once again with a frigid blast of Arctic cold. Aren't we done with this now? No. Monday morning will be feeling more like the mid-minus 20s when you wake up. Doesn't warm too much more to a daytime high on Monday that will be -5. Do you want to see how far away that is from where we should be this time of year? Yeah, it's about 10 to 15 degrees below where we should be this time of year. So low, in fact, that we could smash some daily temperature records from the 20s, 40s, even into the 50s when they were last set to be that cold. It is so cold it will actually be warmer in some parts of the Arctic Circle to start off the work week for us here. We will regain some ground, be back up to the freezing mark for Tuesday into Wednesday, but that temperature roller coaster comes with yet another midweek system, almost a carbon copy to the system that we had midweek last week. It will eventually bring us warmth in double digits, but it'll come with the price tag midweek of rain and maybe even some icing. So no time to do spring planting yet, Shannon.
Yeah, maybe this is just the last of it, you know, the last big kick. That's what we'll say.
We hope so. April will be great, right?
Great. Thanks so much, Sophia. Have a great night, everyone. Thanks for watching.